today I'm going to show you how I turn this into this. So this is just the way I do it, so if you have better ways or other suggestions, just leave them in the comments below. So first of all is the O3 camera settings. This is what I have in my settings. So you want to make sure this one says either wide or normal. Because my current O3 looks like this, I'm going to be using some test footage today. Yeah, this is pretty much what I do. It's very simple. Grab the footage, put it in the computer, and let's go. So the apps we're going to use today are all free. Well, they can be free. I have the paid version of DaVinci Resolve because it's awesome. But if you can't afford it, you can do everything free version. So let's get started. I have my footage here, and the first thing we want to do is open a program called Gyroflow. So it's very simple. What we do is just grab our footage, click, drag, done. The reason why we have it in either normal or wide mode is because both those modes actually have gyro data. So yeah, either wide or normal. Same thing with Avata, so wide or normal. So what we have here is, you can see down the bottom, here's the gyro data. So your X, Y, Z axis, and you can see it like pulling and stuff. Typically, I don't play around with any of these. I just go export because it looks decent as is, and I just cut around all the weird stuff. Like just before I take off here, it's pushing in, and there it goes. So you can see this here, it says zoom limit 130%, 4 seconds. So you can see the blips down the bottom where it does that, but you can change all these to your liking, but I'm happy with that. You basically just hit export and it just exports into that same file you clicked and dragged it from. So you just wait for 5 minutes in this case, but it depends. If you have the bigger the file, the longer it takes. The shorter the file, you know how it is. This is 4K, so I'll see you back in 4 minutes. So that's all finished. It's popped up in our file. So what we can do now is just open your editor of choice. Right, so if we want to, we can click and drag it onto your timeline, but we don't want to. It's just timeline, create new timeline. Untick that one, and then we go format, change this to 4K, which is this one. Great. So we've got a new timeline. Let's just quickly click and drag it into our timeline. Look, hi Jared. Now before we get to the coloring, what I want to do is just fix it up a little bit. So one of the main things, if we notice, scroll about here, see how it just looks weird? It looks too sharp here, like it just looks way too sharp. That's because I don't use ND filters. Not because I don't want to, it's because I haven't got any yet. What does that matter? So I basically have my O3 filming in automatic settings, which means I can't control my shutter, which means I can't follow that normal motion blur rule. We're missing motion blur. So, because I don't use an ND filter, I'm going to show you a very quick way of getting this good. Basically you go down here, if you haven't opened it already, effects, click here, go blur, right down, resolve, FX temporal, motion blur. We click and drag motion blur over that. Looks alright, always go better. I kind of just play the slider, see what works for most of my footage. Like right there's a bit too much. Next, what we want to do is go color. We have our clip selected, and this is a very simple grade. So what we're going to do, either use the DJI O3 D-Log M LUT in DJI. If you don't have it already, it's a free download. Or this DJI Phantom one. They both look pretty good. Like this one's definitely a lot more sharper. Like this one looks nice, but it's a bit contrasty. Let's just go with this one. So look, this looks way too dark at the moment. You can see it on the histograms. What we want to do is just raise it up. Maybe like a good, decent way, like that. Just getting them nice around in the middle. So right off the bat, looks somewhat alright. Like you'd be happy with that footage, wouldn't you? We can change that a little bit. So what we can do here, always with your footage, go into this one here, go this one, so it's blur sharpen, and just drop that a little bit. 47 is probably a bit too much. I normally just go like 0.48. Color boost, just add 5, just lifts the colors up a little bit. It's a little bit contrasty, you can kind of see like around the highlights. This scene right here, you can see like quite highlights right there. So let's just pull some of the contrast out a little bit. Probably there, just a little bit, so we get a tiny bit more detail on the darks, and the highs are basically squeezing these two together. So you can see on the scopes that this is gone. If you want to, you can probably pull those highlights down, but that line essentially means those colors are gone, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just grading for the whole clip. Obviously you kind of grade to whatever clip you want to, so I'd normally just cut it up into slices and go from there. Next, we want to go to curves. Tip is always untick this Y because if you do it, it changes kind of the luminosity of everything. Cool little thing is basically you untick this Y, well you unlink the Y, you go reds, you know, make your little S curve in the reds, greens, pretty much try and get them as close to those dots in the reds as possible. And the same thing with the blues, put them there, put them there. So if you want to, you basically have all the different nodes you can do it on. Like I'm being really naughty and just doing it on one node because I'll show you how to do it properly so we can reset that. So we want to do a serial node after, so Alt S. So this one, we're going to do our curves. We're going to make an S curve like that. And yes, the nodes do matter. The nodes before it affects the ones after it, and the ones after it don't affect the one before it. So Control D, you can kind of see that there. So if you look at the grass, it just adds a bit more of that color to that grass. But if we were to do it with that Y, like I just do it here, S curve with that Y, it just looks way too weird because it's changing all the luminosity values as well, which is that Y value. Very simple, very easy, and done. You can obviously change all these things if you want. So this is the worst practice you possibly do it. You would ideally have all your different changes on different nodes. I just do it simply because my settings just basic as. Otherwise you can spend a while doing this if you want to. Just adding the right colors, but that's all I do. Right, so there we have it. We've got our before, we have our after. Also disclaimer, by all means, I'm not a professional. Take this at your own risk. Use it for starting and build from there.